straight to the point. By the way, before I say this, if you are not 18 years old, please stop and don't continue. And I want to ask, what do you feel if you masturbate through someone else's hand? Don't think badly about my question. It's not me who wants to know. It's Denji who is asking himself questions. After Yoru made Denji feel a pleasure that was so extraordinary, made Denji feel thoughtful. And that's the question that was on Denji's mind in chapter 169. The title is Hand and Adaptation. The story begins with a chef standing and preparing to welcome customers. Irashai, welcome to Sushi Shire. This way, come on. Then, Asa, Fami, Nobana, Haruka, Denji, and CUNNING entered and immediately sat down in front of the hundreds of plates that rotated past the customers so that they could choose what sushi to eat. Denji, who was sitting next to Fami and Haruka, was not focused on the food. Instead, he was distracted by the human social relationships around him. Denji saw a couple of children who were playing with their parents, then saw a couple who were chatting with each other. And not only that, there were several workers who seemed to be enjoying their meal. Denji, who saw them eating, then thought, have they all eaten with other people's hands before? Denji's disgusting thoughts then turned to Itami, who was making his sushi. Denji thought again. By calling his best friend Pachida, he complained about his fate, that so many bad things had happened that Denji wanted to die. But suddenly a sushi moved in front of his eyes, and Denji had just climaxed by someone else for the first time. Physically, Denji was not as good as when it was himself who jacked him off, but it made Denji feel very good. Denji then looked like he was lost in thought without saying anything, but his brain was drifting, wondering if Denji was happy or unhappy right now. Meanwhile, Fami just focused on eating while staring at Denji. Likewise, Asa, who sat next to Fami and continued to stare at Denji with a blush. Asa then whispered to Fami to ask if Fami minded if Asa waited for her outside because there was nothing for Asa to eat. Then disgustingly, Fami, with her mouth full of food, said something incoherent with food splashing out of her mouth. Of course, Asa was surprised and didn't understand what Fami was talking about. Then, Haruka, who was on Denji's right side, spoke while looking at the sushi in front of her. That Akoku and Vinpaku were stuck watching the hideout. Haruka wondered if they could enjoy this delicious meal without them. Nobana, who was eating his sushi, was stopped in his tracks by Haruka's question about whether Nobana would still eat his sushi. Nobana misbehaved and then replied that it was not at all, because he did not know if they would receive a bill for his sushi. It's only natural that students think about payment issues, because there is no word from either of them that they will be treated or pay each other. Haruka thought Nobana was strange. Nobana then defended himself that he was not as weird as Asa Amataka. Let's see, Asa lost her arm, but she looked the same as always. If Nobana was the one who lost his arm, Nobana thought he would cry for about a week. And because of that, Haruka was surprised to hear it. And suddenly, someone joined their conversation and sat down next to Nobana. He said, "It's easy. Just compare he to an animal. Animals don't grieve when they lose their limbs. They just adapt for survival. Oh yeah, devils shouldn't feel sad either, right?" And they realized that the figure was Barum. The surprised Haruka even politely addressed him as Mr. Barum. Nobana was confused by this situation and asked, "Who is that?" Haruka cursed Nobana as stupid and then explained that he was the second person in the Chainsawman church. Denji, who saw Barum, was very surprised, and suddenly Denji grabbed his chopsticks and walked towards Barum to attack him from behind. But Denji stopped after hearing Barum's words that he would take Denji to meet Nayuta. Barum pulled out a chair and told Denji to calm down and sit next to him. But Denji continued to stare at Barum with great annoyance. However, Barum just looked down. Now the two of them sat together. Then Barum asked Denji to take some soy sauce, chopsticks. But before Barum could finish his sentence, Denji immediately cut him off and asked, "Where is Nayuta?" Nobana was surprised to see Barum and Denji looking tense. Barum told them that public security was in front. They surrounded the building, and when they came out after eating sushi, they would both be cut into pieces. Haruka and Nobana were shocked to hear that. Barum continued, if Denji saved them, then Barum would let him see Nayuta. An innocent Denji then asked, saving Barum, what should he do? Barum smiled and told Denji to eat the egg sushi he was holding first. And the chapter ended here. I can't believe Denji met Barum this quickly. I thought they were going to have a battle at the sushi restaurant. But strangely, the innocent Denji was willing to listen to what Barum said, and even seemed to be willing to do anything to meet Nayuta. The question is Barum not planning something? Is he not fooling Denji, given Barum's cunning and ruthless nature? And as we all know, the tragedy of humans turning into Chainsawmen was Barum lying to the members of the Chainsawman cult to contract with the Justice Devil, but instead contracted with the Fire Devil. But if we observe, there is something very confusing, because in this dangerous situation, those who are clustered after attacking and rescuing Denji from public security, of course their status is now the target of hunting from public security. But with such a situation, why did they go to Sushi restaurant instead? Why do you think? Please don't answer that they are hungry. But if you know, you know. And without finding out the safety first, they were too relaxed and even had time to do an adult scene. You must understand about that scene? That's right. A moment where the whole world, adult men, can feel what Denji feels. But besides that, there are things that make me curious about Fami's reaction, which is always mentioned by Barum, where both of them have the same goal, which is to save humans from the Death Devil. Will Fami, Asa, or Yoru follow Denji to help Barum? What do you think, guys? And that's it for this episode. Thank you for liking and subscribing. I'm iits'Nime. See you in the next episode. Bye-bye.